from where you sit. Thank you so much for making time to join us for another exciting episode of The Trading Bell. This week on the program, we shall be talking matters property, and I'll be hosting Mwenda Thuranira, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Myspace. And just before we get into the interview, let's take a quick look at who is Mwenda Thuranira and his profile.
Mwenda Thuranira is the CEO of Myspace Properties with extensive experience in real estate and property development. He has acquired acumen through hands-on experience in the USA, Dubai, and Kenya. He is a graduate with extensive knowledge on all current economic, socio and real estate matters. Mwenda majored in real estate at the University of Dallas, Texas, and real estate courses at the International School of Real Estate in the USA. Mwenda is also a member of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, Kenya Property Developers Association, Nyali Business and Residents Association, and the Rotary International. Myspace Properties endeavors to take up a leadership function in the property market.
Thank you so much, Mwenda.
Thank you, Bill.
A pleasure having you. I like your beard.
Yours too. You are one of us.
It's a movement.
Yes.
All right, Mwenda, talk to us about, you recently got listing on the NSE Incubator program, that is the Ibuka program. Perhaps to just help our viewers understand, what is all this about, this Ibuka program? Will it have any impact on your organization?
Yes, of course. Ibuka program is an incubator program which helps small companies, SMEs, get into the stock market, be able to enjoy the benefits, raise the capital, put the governance structure in place, and basically run the business the right way.
Yeah.
You see, the way we come as an entrepreneur, you start things in the garage. Like this company basically started in the bedroom with my wife. Then it came to the living room, then to the office, and now we want to take to the public. I mean, it's step by step. We have been in this now in Mombasa for 10 years, and we did it in America for another 6 years, basically real estate. And we want to take that further, take it to the next level, and of course, share with others.
All right. And Thuranira, real estate has been a very emotive issue for Kenyans because as we speak, the housing deficit is quite alarming. We're looking at 200,000 units required every year. At the same time, what is being delivered to the market is not sufficient. But in what I see, what Myspace is doing is sort of a new model in terms of how to package the real estate compared to the traditional kind of real estate we were used to. Just talk to us about what this Myspace product is all about.
Okay. Good. Of course, we are coming up with innovative ways of doing business. I mean, we can't be doing the same thing every day and expect change.
Sure.
We have to be innovative and change ways in the way we do business. Basically, you realize there's a deficit, yes, of housing, especially in the low cost, in the affordable sector. There's a need of many houses. But the key challenges we face today in Kenya, in fact, is not even more of houses, it's the affordability, the mortgage structures. I mean, there's no mortgage company in Kenya currently. We have less than 30,000 mortgages in Kenya. That's in a population of 40 million Kenyans. That's less than 1%.
Very baffling, I must say.
Exactly. The penetration is very low.
Compared to South Africa, how are we doing?
South Africa is like 90%. You go to some countries like US is like 98%. I mean, the mortgage there is very well developed and the purchase schemes. Yes.
Why not Kenya?
Now, basically, you see, Kenya is a growing economy. We are living in a developing world. And I mean, each is step by step will get there. But somebody has to take a bold move and say, this is not the right way it's done, let's do it this way. Especially in realizing real estate in Kenya is not structured at all. I mean, anybody can be, let's say, a real estate agent. Anybody can be anything at any time. There are no structures, no systems, which needs to be in place to start with. For example, when it comes to mortgages, in Kenya, if you want to borrow from a bank for a house, you'll have to go to a bank, fill in documents, wait for like 3 months to get a yes or no. Then if they tell you, if you're lucky to get a yes, you have to wait for another 6 months to get financing. And if after that time, the bank does not come through, you have to go to another bank to start the process again.
Wow.
So especially for the first-time home buyers, they get bored with that process. So they just give up, they continue renting, they forget about it, they try to save some money, buy some plot and build in future. But if the mortgage structure is in order, I mean, we'll go places. And that's why Myspace Properties is listing on NSE so that we can raise capital through a REIT and do what we call tenant purchase scheme, TPS. With these schemes, for example, if you have a building, we can buy the building and the tenants who are there, we can turn them into homeowners as they continue paying rent. For example, if they are paying rent of 30,000,
yes,
you can tell them, let's say you pay 40 or 45,000, in 15 years or 20 years, this house will be yours. And basically, everybody has to live somewhere by the end of the day. So with this, we'll make more people, we'll make more homeowners in this country. And for the developers, you know, the key challenge developers face is uptick. So our tagline coming to this business is a guaranteed uptick. For example, now if we pay that developer off for the building and we are left with the tenant purchase schemes, people paying rent every month, the developer will go do another development somewhere, even a bigger development and a better. And then we come again. You see, it's a continuous process.
And all this is pushing prospective homeowners to consider building their own units, which is also another headache. Running around with fundis, you are getting approvals by yourself. And if you ask any middle-class average Kenyan right now, their preoccupation is buy land, build. And it is becoming the new trend. And of course, this comes at a cost. Some people buy land, perhaps it had some encumbrances, which means down the road they're told this land has issues. We have to pull down the building. And of course, it takes people to another level of depression.
Yeah, of course, what I always advise, if you're not an expert, if you don't have the time, if you don't have the know-how on how to build, please don't. Use professionals or you buy something which is ready. For example, something small in a site, in a construction, has experts. We lose 25% in preferage. Ile fundi anaweka misumari kwa mfuko, chuma na katakata kidogo kidogo. On a daily basis.
Anachota.
Exactly, simiti anabeba kwa mfuko. I mean, there are ways they do it. So at the end of the project, you realize 25% has gone to preferage. What you are trying to save from hiring a contractor, for example, you're trying to save 15%. Here you have already lost 25%, which maybe could have been the profit of the contractor. You get the job well done, you get it. I mean, you get it done professionally. And please, if you're doing a building, use experts. Even if you're building a toilet, use an expert. It will save you a lot of headache. Yes.
And Thuranira, looking at what Myspace is envisioning, how has been the uptake in the Kenyan market so far? And what is driving the growth?
Okay. Of course, the uptake has been slow. For the last 2 years, the real estate developers have really suffered. Of course, this is due to tight credit. The banks are not lending to developers. They are very jittery on projects. And the money circulating in economy is not much. Of course, you know, government is borrowing a lot, local borrowing from the bank. So basically, we are competing with the bank. The bank borrows, let's say, at 10 or 12%. Mwenda goes to borrow at 14%. Government is secure. Mwenda kuna story kidogo hapa na pale. So it becomes a challenge if we cannot get credit. Of course, doing a building, any sizable building, we are talking about millions of shillings, which is an expensive affair. And we need help from the bank. We need that capital injection. So right now, if we can get other ways of doing it, for example, not having to depend on banks a lot, having people ejecting funds from all places, especially if there's guaranteed uptick. If you talk to anybody around the world, any developer, that's the word they want to hear. And that's what we are creating, guaranteed uptick.
So what does the market have to offer right now in terms of what Myspace is doing? Of course, there's this agreement you've talked about, the tenant purchase scheme. What is the potential of it having a good uptake in Kenya?
Okay, of course it has happened. NSSF has done it for years.
Yes.
Many, in all over the world, it has worked tremendously. I mean, it's the easiest way to own a home. Since you don't have to go through all that strict scrutiny, again, it fits where you are. For example, we'll be coming even where you live. If you're comfortable there, you own the place. By the end of the day, everybody wants to own a house. That's a goal of almost every human being by the end of the day. To have a decent home, to house the family, and that's what we want to provide in an easy, innovative way.
Of course, there are challenges in the property market. Some feel it's too risky. I'd rather rent rather than buy my own property. Of course, this is linked to a number of issues from people being actually people being duped by real estate agents, by property developers. How would you say we can overcome this as a country?
Okay, as a country, of course, it comes down to structuring real estate. You see, in this industry, for one, there are so many quacks in the industry. There are so many untrained people.
Yeah.
And now that's what brings us to our next product, what we are coming with in the market. We are doing what we call a franchise model. We are building a locally bred kienyeji franchise. You see, in Kenya, all we have is franchises from outside. We come here and they don't perform very well because they don't understand the terrain in this country. So we are building one from the ground up. How will it help the market? Basically, our basic first is training. You see, without training, you can't have professionals. They have to be trained and continuously trained and upgraded. We're coming up with the training modules. We are coming up with the IT platform, one of the best in the world, which will enable sharing of information among the agents. And basically, we want to regularize this market. For example, it can even be at the policy level whereby to be licensed to be a realtor, you have to go through this training. That's what happens all over the world. And that's what we want to bring in here. For sure, I know in Kenya, even to get a house to rent or to buy is a big challenge. You have to call one agent, you have to call another, like 10 agents. You have to maybe be conned, be charged things like viewing fee and stuff like that. And finally, we have no way of sharing information in this industry. And this is what we want to put together. Like in other places, like for example, in the US, you'll see there's a listing system, MLS, which is not here. And basically, we need that. We need order in this industry. That's the way we'll avoid people being duped. That's if we have order in the system. For example, there's coming of blockchain. That's a big blessing in this industry. You'll be able to verify the properties online. I mean, before ownership changed, everybody knows. The sharing of information will be there. So fake titles, fake land, fake dealers, they'll be all out of question. It will be a thing of the past. Yeah.
And if you are to have a word with, say, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of housing and urban development, what recommendations would you push forward, especially when it comes to formalizing the real estate? It's heavily fragmented, and no one knows what this hand is doing, no one knows what the neighbor next door is doing. We eventually end up in a very distorted market.
Okay, what I would advise, number one is, for example, for the real estate, for the agents, for the brokers, first of all is to get professional in that. It's for heaven's sake, to drive a car, you need a driver's license.
Yeah.
And to sell a house, you don't need a license, which is even more costly. It's a bigger investment. So it needs to be harder. Of course, another thing is the documentation, the titles, the digitization, which is going on. Hopefully it can go on faster. I mean, if in this country we have tuk-tuks and borders who are all registered.
Why not? The same for housing.
For housing.
Yes.
I mean, it's something very easy and it's very, very doable, especially when you engage with stakeholders or us who are in the ground. We know what happens. And I attend some of their forums and try to make my contribution. And hopefully with these engagements, the media, and I mean, we'll educate the public and especially training the agents. Me, I will really advocate for that. If they are trained, for example, the youth, they'll be able to get jobs. We'll be able, when we do our franchise model, we'll be giving you a business in a box. Where basically, if you want to set up in Kisumu, you have your box, the systems, there's procedures, what you need to be done here and there. Okay. And you have the support system behind you, the IT system, the training. I mean, you'll be there. Yeah.
And as we get to the tail end of the interview, sir, what trends should we expect in real estate now that we are seeing the economic growth is projected to grow at 6.3% in 2019? And one of the big four agendas of the government is housing. What opportunities are there, especially for low-end housing?
Okay. For the big four, of course, we are focusing on that. That's why we understand one of the key problems in Kenya is getting finances to own homes. Financing people is a source of finance.
Yeah.
That's why we are ahead of even the big four. And we are ahead and part of it. Basically, if when we go through our process, through NSC, through the REITs, I mean, basically, this will be easy for everybody. And when it comes to developments, of course, you are not being left behind on that. We are working with companies like Tatu City. There's a model we are developing on to do low-cost housing. And we believe we'll be able to house more Kenyans and make it possible. And not only Nairobi, we are looking into Meru, Nakuru, Kisumu, and Mombasa, we are already there. So the places where we are not, will be there. Also, we are looking beyond borders. Why Kenya only? If we have an innovative, good product, like for example, you've seen M-Pesa, now it's worldwide.
Sure.
So when we are building our company, we are building it for that.
All right.
Yes.
And of course, what would be your parting shot really for companies that have been contemplating coming to the NSC? Many people have that fear that by you listing, you'll be scrutinized more. You might lose control of your organization in terms of how you've been running it. Like in your case, you give a classical example how you started off the business with your wife and to where it is today. And what really changes if you get the opportunity to allow your company to be listed over and above getting access to capital?
I mean, for one thing which I believe is if you have a vision for yourself and your company, I mean, that's something which cannot be stolen from you, no matter how many people come in. Like, for example, through my company, I've been able to nurture so many other companies. People who have worked for me, they have opened their companies and they're successful, which is good, and I'm very happy about that. In fact, I even support them, which for some, if you want to grow a market, when you have a bigger cake to eat, I mean, it's better. Like, that's why I say sometimes it's better to own 1% of Indian Ocean than 100% of Lake Victoria. So you better be part of something big. And being scrutinized, I know, for example, many people fear being criticized, being talked about, having haters. But remember, you cannot grow without haters. You cannot grow without critics. That's why they say, I mean, friends and family will make you successful. But competitors, haters, they'll make you very, very successful. So why should I fear? I mean, by the end of the day, I mean, we're in business. That's what we want to do, and we want to create change. I mean, a barking dog, what does it have to stop the journey, really?
No.
If you have to stop the journey to throw stone to every barking dog, it will never get there. So basically, to me, I take criticism positively. In fact, that's how we learn. My haters, I love them very much. My competitors, they're my collaborators. In fact, we collaborate with all my competition. That's why we held the Mombasa Homes Expo. And with the Mombasa Homes Expo, we used to call all our competitors and even give them a discount so that they can be there.
All right.
We can compete at the level platform. What I believe is there is enough for everybody.
The cake is big enough.
Opportunities are endless. Even if a company like Myspace Properties is given just small town like Westlands, it's impossible to build a capacity for one company to manage that real estate. It's too big. So we are talking about a giant cake here. And our vision is to be the leading team in housing the world.
Okay.
And we want to live to that.
Very grand dreams. And we look forward to seeing you achieve this.
Thank you so much. I really
Well,
appreciate
we've been
it.
speaking there to Mwenda Thuranira, who is the CEO of Myspace Properties, just unpacking for us the developments in the real estate space. At the same time, sharing his insights around what it takes to list and what are the opportunities out there. He says, you need critics for you to grow in your business. Well, that's today's edition of The Trading Bell. Many thanks for your valued company. You can always engage with us on our social media handles appearing at the bottom end of the screen. And remember to always make a date with us every Friday on KTN News from 3:30 p.m. On behalf of the entire team, it is bye-bye from us, and have yourselves a lovely weekend ahead.